Hey everyone, welcome to this YouTube live from Greg's Space Shed. So yeah, I'm looking at all these years that people have been married. It's 10 years for me, so I've got a bit of catching up to do. I think Adrian's won it on 36, I think he said. Who else has got it? Yeah, Rick's got 36. Wow, impressive. Yeah, so welcome everyone. So we're going to just have quite a brief session really. I'm just going to chat about bass riffs and then talk a bit about my Riff Meister bootcamp. So I'm Greg Hagger. I know most of you in there. If there's anyone that doesn't know me, I sort of created, I'm the founder of Greg's Space Shed, and I'll be running this session, but I think I pretty much recognise all the names in there anyway. So can you just let me know if you can hear it loud and clear, and also some bass as well? And for those of you who have been on these calls before, you probably know there's a bit of a delay for the chat. Kind of sometimes takes about 2 or 3 minutes to come through. So I'll just watch that and I'll just assume that you can hear loud and clear at the moment. So the format of this session, I'm just going to do a short session on playing riffs and playing in the pocket. I'll just discuss that briefly, what you can kind of do with riffs once you've learnt them, because that's kind of a common question I get asked. And then I'm going to do a quick unboxing of the Riff Meister bootcamp. I'll just show you what the course looks like inside and talk briefly about it. And then I'll just open it up for questions and answers. You can do all that on the chat. If you've got any questions, then fire away. If you've got any that can wait, just put them in when I open the Q&As, because then I can kind of keep track of them. But if there's anything as we go along, just put them in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that. Cheers everyone. So yeah, you can hear it loud and clear. So I'm just going to crack straight on. So the first question, why focus on bass riffs? Well, if you're like me, you love playing bass riffs. It's kind of the reason why I picked up the bass the first time, just to learn a bass riff. We play them all the time and they're great fun to play as well. But repeating riffs accurately is a must for bass players. It's like one of our main jobs. We're expected to provide a solid foundation. And when you're doing a repetitive groove round and round and round, that's called an ostinato. That's just a repeated pattern. And we can get in a sort of kind of trance kind of thing with the groove, just playing round and round. That's a real skill and you want to kind of lock in. And if you think about really great bass players, lots of them are known for being able to play in the pocket and being really great groove players as well. So it's important when you can work on all these skills when you're playing bass riffs. You can get a small riff and then work on other aspects as you do that, rather than kind of learning the whole bass line, which is great, but then that's a task in itself. So yeah, learning riffs, a fantastic way to kind of work on your musicianship. But a common question I get asked is, once you've learnt the riff or the bass line, what do you do with it then? When do you deviate from the riff? When do you have to play it exactly? How do you play fills? Where do you play them? Do you play them every 4 bars? So all these kind of questions. So the first step, if you're a beginner, you're just going to learn the riff and then be happy with that really. If you can just get through playing with a band, if you can get through a gig or a jam night and you've played the correct bass line or riff, then that's great. So that's the kind of first step. But then after that, you might want to get more creative with the set bass line and get away from that. Get more creative and put your own flair to it. So a lot of kind of problems come up there. It's like just how do you get more creative? So I just want to chat a little bit about that. So I'll demonstrate what I mean. I've got one of the riffs from the Riff Meister. I've got one of the drum loops, sorry. So they're 20 drum loops recorded by one of my friends, Tom Clare, professional drummer. I wanted to use real drums for these rather than just kind of electronic kits, because I think it's important, because the drummer kind of moves slightly. I mean, Tom's a fantastic drummer. He's right on it, but you know, just by the human element to it, someone kind of moves tiny, minute bits, and that's really what it's about. It's about kind of playing with the drummer and bouncing off the drummer. And so this bass riff I'm going to play is from Lean on Me by Bill Withers. So I'll just play the drum loop and I'll play the main riff.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So hopefully you all recognise that. It's actually based on the major scale. It's actually quite uncommon to have bass lines based on the major scale. Normally it's pentatonics and blues scales, sometimes the minor scale. If it's in C, so the C major scale, so those first notes. So it's just really moving up the scale, and the reason I think why it is the major scale, because it just it follows the melody, and melodies often do use the major scale. So we're kind of playing the melody for this bit, and then it kind of, so it goes down there. So you've got a kind of counterline to the melody there, but it basically follows the melody all the way through. So if you're playing it, you'd play that. That's great. That's fine. Partway through the song, you might think, okay, I want to do something a little bit interesting. One thing you could do is you could play the counter melody, which is actually a string line. So it's a harmony line. I'll put the beat on. I'll play that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so that's a kind of harmony line. It's actually a third. I'll try and can't really quite do it on the P bass, but that's the third line. That's original bass line, up an octave, and then this line. Okay, so it's a harmony line. It's a third above. So playing that counter melody, playing counter melodies on the bass, fantastic. You don't want to do it all the time. The bass's job really is to be the strong foundation, but for a bit of variety, it'd be quite nice to do that. But also you can have the main bass line, and you can start putting in little fills, articulations. If you listen to me playing it, I didn't play it. I played, kind of just playing long short notes to add a bit of style to it. I'll play through now, and I'll do a little bit of an over-the-top version with loads of fills. I wouldn't play it like this live, but I'd use some of those every now and again, but just to give you an idea. Okay, so it's the same riff.
2, 3, 4.
Okay, so as I said, that's a bit busy, but that's just to demonstrate some little licks you could put in, and you probably heard the last fill. Okay, that's a nice little fill there. And how do I know that works? Well, that's just based on the major pentatonic scale, which always works over a major chord. It's a C major chord. So the major pentatonic. So I just use those notes there. So I'm rushing through this, by the way. I'm not expecting you to be picking all this up. I'm just kind of demonstrating how you can kind of think away from the riff and the different techniques, what you can do. You can add articulation, you can put fills in. So really it's kind of taking the riff and just being creative with it. And in some situations you want to play the exact riff. If there's iconic riff, like for my Queen Symphonic Band that I do with an orchestra, if I'm playing Under Pressure, I've got to do, okay, I can't do anything else. It just, people want to hear that. But when you get on the that later bit of the song, you can start to add a few different variations. If you're playing it every night, it's nice to mix it up a little bit when that's the main part of the song without the iconic bass line. So another one bites the dust. Okay, when I walk to the front to play that, I don't think anyone would be amused if I started playing something different. So there are situations where you definitely have to play the exact bass line, and there's nothing wrong with playing that. But when you have an opportunity, it's good to develop it and get away from the set bass line. So that's how to think creatively. Now, when you're playing the riffs, you need to play in the pocket, okay? And that just simply means you play it accurately, and you lock in with the drummer and the rest of the band. Okay, you're locking in with the whole band, but the drummer really is your friend. That's the kind of the first thing that you're kind of listening to. So when you're playing, listen to the drum beat. Okay, lock in with the bass drum. Often the bass drum's doing the same pattern as you. Sometimes it's slightly different, but it will always have some similarities to it. Okay, and you use the snare drum and the hi-hats as well to help you to count. Okay, snare drum sometimes on say 2 and 4. The hi-hats would be beaten out every beat, sometimes eighth notes. So I'm just going to play you a quick beat here, and I want you to listen to that beat and see if you can pick out, so the kick drum, which is another name for the bass drum, the snare drum, and the hi-hats. Just listen and kind of pick out and sort of focus on what they're playing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So the bass drum, boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's the bass drum, and then the snare, boom, ba, 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 and then you can hear the hi-hats. Okay, so that's kind of, that will just give you a help when they're the different kind of elements to the beat, especially if you're playing a syncopated bass line or riff, which is a syncopated just means you're off the beat. So say you come in on the ands in between on the eighth notes. If you've got to come in on one and or two and, you just use the drums to kind of monitor and to help you to count really. So I'm going to play with that groove. So that's actually a drum loop from the course, which is from Chameleon, which you might know, by Herbie Hancock. The bass line is actually played on bass synth, but it's great on the bass. And if you do any jazz jam nights, you're going to be playing this tune. Basically, I've jammed this one hundreds of times. And then when you've got a lot of solos going on, you're just going to kind of lay down the groove. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So listen to me kind of locking in with the drums. And you especially need to lock in when you're playing the syncopated tune. And then the extra bit. Sorry, that's okay, so both of those melody lines, especially this second one, okay, they're kind of really, really syncopated, so you need to kind of lock in with those drums. Okay, so when you're playing with a drum loop or a drum beat, you can play it exactly with the drums. You can play it with a slightly laid back feel. You can play slightly ahead if you want to kind of push it on a jazz walking bass line. So you don't just play in one place as well. That's kind of when you listen to some different rhythm sections, bass and drum teams, then they sometimes, sort of bounce off each other. One's kind of pulling a bit, one's dragging a little bit. We're talking a tiny bit here, and that's kind of the music really breathing. So this is on a kind of a sort of higher level really. If you're a beginner, you won't be really thinking about this, but if you're a more advanced player, then these are the kind of things that you need to start thinking about. So yeah, that was just a quick snapshot of how you can take a basic riff and what you can do with it, and how you can add some variations and really make sure that you're locking in with the riff. So I'll just chat a little bit about the Riff Meister Bootcamp, because it leads on directly from that. So this is, I opened up for enrolment this week. It starts on Monday, this Monday, the 1st of May. So the aim of the course is to develop the ability to play riffs in different styles of music. Now that's quite important, that you're kind of authentic to the style you're playing in. When you come up with your licks and your variations, it's really important if you're playing in blues, there's set things you need to do in those styles. Okay, and there's obviously a lot of crossover, but really having that ability to kind of play a song in a certain style and kind of be authentic to that style is quite a good skill to have. And the second thing about the course is getting away from set bass lines. So what I was talking about just now, learning how to get away from those, and also creating your own fills and variations and learning to play in the pocket. So really exactly what I was talking about just now. So I just go, I just do that over more riffs and more in depth. So in the boot camp, it's split up the 4 weeks. You get a riff a day, Monday to Friday. The first week's soul, then funk, then rock, then blues. And if you look at those, you can see they're quite kind of classic kind of versions from those styles. Booker T, King Curtis. And that was a lot of fun, the soul and the funk weeks to make. There's lots of crossovers as well, kind of soul. A lot of that soul stuff's quite funky. The funk stuff's got soul and Motown in it. Even the rock stuff's got a bit of groove in it, like the Doobie Brothers. Evil Ways is kind of a little bit sort of funky, rock, blues. So all these kind of styles in that era kind of mix up quite a bit, and lots of these musicians actually played in a few different styles as well. So these are the riffs in the boot camp. So what level is the boot camp? So I've made it accessible for all standards and experience levels on the bass. The way I've done that is each riff each day has got 3 levels. So the level 1 is the main riff. So everyone should be able to play that. And then levels 2 and 3, I start doing what I did with that first riff, showing you sort of counter melodies, articulations, which add a lot of class to the bass line. Variations, feels, more complex rhythms. So I do kind of a different thing with each riff. So if you're a beginner, then you're probably likely just to do level 1. More advanced players would want to do levels 2 and 3. But the beauty of the course is once I've drip fed each riff each day, at the end of the 4 weeks, then you've got the whole course. Okay, so you can keep coming back to it. So if you're really are a beginner and you don't fancy levels 2 and 3, that's fine. You could come back in 6 months' time and kind of take those levels. So that was the idea really of creating it in Teachable, which is the online course platform. So then you've just got it for life and you keep coming back to it. So now I'll just show you briefly inside the course. I've just made a very quick video just showing you what it looks like. Let's try and play that. Okay, give me a moment. We've got the information video. It says start lesson here. If you scroll down, you can see all the different video lessons. So this is the first week. There are 4 weeks in total. So how the boot camp works, there's a welcome video there. And then you've got the riff each day. So it says available in 4 days' time because the course starts on the 1st of May. So I'll be drip feeding each riff to you. Monday to Friday, you'll get a new riff for 4 weeks. So this is Soul Week. So day 1, riff 1, day 2, riff 2, etc. as we go through. And then you'll get a summary as well of all 5 riffs. So I'll make a video of all of them. So you can decide to do the riffs each day as I release them, or you can just do them at the end of the week. So if we go in there, riff 1, Time is Tight. If we click on that, it goes into, here we go.
Is Time is Tight by Booker T and the MGs.
So that's the video where I demonstrate the riffs and chat a bit about them, and the 3 levels are in there as well each day. So if you're more of a beginner, you might just want to do the first level. If you're a more advanced player, you want to do all the levels. But you can always come back to this course. Once I've drip fed the riffs, you've got the course for life. Okay, so you can come back as many times as you want. So if you're a beginner, you might want to come back in say 6 months' time and look at level 2, for example. But you can kind of style it how you want according to the level and how much experience you've got playing bass. Underneath the video, you've got drum loop here. So that's nearly 4 minutes of drum loop. So each drum loop is 4 or 5 minutes long, and you've got a new drum loop for each riff. And then you've got the PDF each day in standard notation and tabs, so you don't need to read music, but there's notation if you do read. So that's the riffs and the 3 levels there. And then you can just complete and carry on each day. You can also leave a comment, so I encourage you to do that. You can post videos of you playing the riffs. You can ask me questions there. I get notification every time you ask that or leave a comment, so I'll help you there. And you can just chat to the other people in the course. You're all going through the boot camp at the same time for this first wave, so it's good if you can kind of help each other out if you've got any issues. Yeah, there we are. So that's the first week. Obviously, I'll release all the other weeks as we go through the course. In that before, I didn't really, I forgot what I put in that video. I've just noticed as well that I've just seen a few of you have got 40 years on the wedding. Tim and John, 40 years. Yeah, okay, I'm 47 years old, so I've got a bit of catching up to do. I was only 7 when you got married. But brilliant. Okay, so the Riff Meister, so it's open for enrolment. It's $97, so that's about the same price as a private one-to-one lesson with me, so it's still at this price. I wanted to make it kind of accessible to everyone. So it starts on Monday, so that's where you get your first riff. But as I said, you don't have, I'm drip feeding the riffs every day, but you can kind of do them at the end of the week if you want to, as a summary video. But you have to sign up by this Saturday midnight, the 29th of April, that says behind there. So you have to sign up by then, because everyone starts at the same time on this course on Monday. And I've put a link for enrolment under the course, but in a minute I'll put it in the chat as well. So there's also a gold upgrade bundle if you want to. That's $50. This includes, you get hard copies, MP3 copies of all the drum loops. So you can kind of load them onto any device and take them around and practice anywhere outside of the course, because the ones in the course are embedded underneath the video. And also you'll get 4 extra transcriptions of the whole bass line from 4 tunes in the boot camp, so 1 a week. So at the end of the week you'll get a whole transcription of the whole bass line, so I'm picking some really good ones for that, so then you can play, just see kind of what the bass is doing throughout the tune instead of just the main riff and the variations. And also the third thing you get with the upgrade bundle is feedback from me on 2 of your videos. So you can pick any of the riffs and play them to the drum loops, record them. You can do that on your phone, doesn't really matter. And I'll give you email feedback. So it's really good to get feedback. And anyway, it's just good to record yourself, even if you don't take this upgrade bundle, just to record yourself to hear how you're doing. Record yourself at the beginning and at the end. It's really, really useful, because often it doesn't kind of quite sound how you think it does when you're listening back. So it's really good to kind of have that to listen to. And if you do want the upgrade bundle, when you go to the final cart page where you put your details in, it will come up. You'll see it underneath on the left hand side of the screen. If there's any problem with that, just let me know. And all my courses are always covered by guarantees. This one's a 14-day money-back guarantee. If you're unhappy, if it's not what you think it is, then just send me an email and I'll give you money back, no questions asked. So I don't want there to be any risk signing up. So lots of you have had my courses already, so you know the standard of them. But if it's anyone new, you're not sure, I always make sure I do that, just so there's no risk at all signing up. Okay, so yeah, that's really just what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of demonstrate it quickly, just get you thinking about riffs and how you could do variations, and just show you a little bit inside the course. So if you've got any questions, anything, I'll just hang around and I'll look in the chat. And as I said, it takes a couple of minutes to come through, so I'll just watch that. But if any questions, just fire them off to me about bass playing as well. Happy to answer anything, and I'll put the link in a minute, and just give me a moment or two while I kind of look through the chat. So here we go. I think I can put them on the screen. So the first add to broadcast. Don't know how that's working. That doesn't work. But yeah, nice glasses from Mark. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I need glasses now for reading music, so that's why these are on. But yeah, any questions, and I'll just find the link now and put it in the chat. So if anyone's sloping off, thanks for joining me. It was great to see you all briefly. I'll do a longer YouTube live soon at some point. Any ideas, anything you want me to cover, just let me know, and I'll sort of bear that in mind. Okay, I'll just find this loop. So the link. Oh yeah. So here we go. Some loads more comments have come through. There we go. Oh, so Stephen managed to get his wife, whose birthday it is, to buy him the course. That's well done. Really good skills. Remind you of the cost. Oh yeah, so Mark, so it's $97, which is around about £80, British pounds. I don't know what it is in euros, but as soon as you get to the cart page, you just it just converts it straight away to whatever currency you're in. But I have to pick one currency, and as most of my subscribers are American, dollar seems to kind of work best. But apologies to the UK customers. But yeah, it's around about £80. So Lenny's just enrolled. That's great. Lynn, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's good to see some different faces. I'll just have a quick look, see if there's any other questions that are earlier on that I missed. Oh, it's Rick's wife's birthday too. This is great. Yeah. And there's Ted. Hi Ted Fitzgerald. Hello from California. I hope it's nice weather there. Good to see you. And Tim, nice to see you as well. Tim Kelly. Let's see anymore. And there's Barry. Yeah, thanks Barry. Yeah, no problem. Just have a think about it. We've got until Saturday anyway. If you've got any other questions that you think of, and anyone else as well, just email me, info@gbshed.com, or you can just go on the website on the contact page if that's easier. Yeah, if you think of any questions, that you want anything clarified before Saturday night, then just send me a message. Okay, I'm just going to watch the chat a bit, but yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll put some music on, and I'll see you all soon. But yeah, continue to put anything in the chat if you.
featuring Uncle